Welcome to CrossmenLive, the series, Episode 3, Drum Majors Through the Years. I'm Jack Brennecke.
And I'm Josh Sears, and joining us today, we have a special guest who many not only from the Crossmen family will recognize, but much of DCI from her time holding up the numbers before shows. Jill Moyer. Welcome, Jill.
Hi, Josh. Hi, Jack.
Give us a quick rundown of your time with the Corps and what you've done since.
My time with the Crossmen, 1979, 1980, drum major with Bret Mascaro. And then after 1980, I jumped into music education and began my 33-year teaching career of general music, marching band, chorus, and all those kind of things. And a lot of accompanying. I'm a pianist. And then during that time as well, I jumped on tour. I sold some Subies with the cadets. I also was a tour director. And then in 2000, I scooted over to the DCI event team and have been on the event team since 2000, prepping for shows. I've become a contest coordinator. I do the timing, which is a lot of fun, and gotten to meet a lot of people along the way, and continue to do so. And hopefully in the future, as hopefully we get back on the field shortly.
So Jill, a few months ago, you had the opportunity to interview a whole bunch of drum majors throughout the years. You want to tell us about what that was like doing that?
Wow. The list of drum majors was incredible, and it was an honor just to talk to them and exchange stories. The thing about all the drum majors was that there was an underlying thread with all of them. First off, their smiling faces and all the great things they had to say about their time with the Corps. And the energy and all the great memories that it brought back was really something else to see.
Well, then let's take a look at the drum majors of the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
So I guess maybe we can start. Mark, introduce yourself, like your years and where you marched from and what you're doing now. And then we'll get into some questions as we go.
Hi, everybody. Donna, Batchelor, drum major at the inception of the Crossmen in 74 through 76. Hanger outer in 77 and 8, I think. I'm retired, and I do a lot of work with the Blue Devils.
Hey, I'm Mark Metz, drum major part of 76, DCI tour 77 and 78. Was a music teacher for a while and now a psychologist.
Well, first I joined Crossmen the week before Sevierville, Tennessee in 76, where my first show we got disqualified. And then 77, I was drum major. Right now, what I'm doing, I have my own ranch. I have horses, I have dogs, so on and so forth, and I play in 3 community bands.
Mascaro. I was drum major in 79 and 80. And then had a full teaching career, almost 35 years. And now I'm retired, but continue to stay involved. I'm currently an adjunct professor at Westchester University.
Jill Moyer, 79 and 80, lucky enough to be with Bret at Crossmen and with Mark Metz at Westchester, and retired teacher, and enjoying what that has to offer.
I'm Lydia Marshall. I started in 2018 and then, of course, was there last year in 2019. I'm currently a junior, well, I guess now senior music ed major at TCU. And yeah, just looking forward to what this next year is going to bring, student teaching and all that. So that'll be really fun.
Lydia, what question you want to start with?
Yeah, so let's start out with, what is one of your most proud moments from your time with the Crossmen?
I think for me, because I was the product, the original product of the merger between Keystone Regiment and 507 Hornets. It was the first time we took the field as the Crossmen. Having been a part of all the work that brought this Corps into being, and then being able to step on the field, and we did quite well the first few years when I was involved. But I can still remember the first time we took the field.
Jill, your proudest moment?
Oh gosh, trying to hold the corps together when we had the half a show in California when we had only half of the members at the Moonlight Classic.
So let's talk about how your time at the Crossmen has impacted your life.
My experience pretty much parallels what other folks have said, in that the Corps did for me a couple of things. A, it fueled this addiction to marching music and or pageantry, whatever we're calling it these days, that so many of us have experienced and just kept us so involved for literally decades. Nothing taught me more perseverance or resilience, as Donna said, or whatever you want to call it, than getting anywhere with this Corps and surviving and going through the things that we went through and continuing to, quoting Robbie, pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and move on. I never heard that expression until it came out of Robbie's mouth, and I've heard it a couple thousand times since then. But, you know, very, very important life lessons. And then, as is evidenced by this virtual meeting, lifetime friends.
It's interesting just to look at the people on this Zoom meeting that continued in DCI after the drum major experience. And, you know, I was thinking about this before this meeting and just thinking about what do members expect after they age out? I mean, there's a cool thing about being in it, but what do they expect if they age out? And there's so many things that they can do between, you know, just being a fan of the activity, being a volunteer, being an alumni. You know, many of us went on to teach or design or judge or run DCI contests. You know, where would DCI be without the things that many of the members have gone on to do after their marching performance or their performing experience? So again, there's that history and there's that future.
What would you want to say to the members of the 2020 Crossmen that are going to be continuing into the 2021 season, and what kind of encouragement would you give them?
This is one of the only activities, music happens to be one of the only activities where you must demonstrate your skill every single night. You get graded every single night. Everyone gets to form their opinion every single night. That means that you have a new opportunity every single night to do even better the next time. So that gives you the goal and the momentum that Drum Corps provides that not necessarily some of the other musical organizations within the public schools do. Drum Corps gets very, very intense, and you get wrapped up in it and enjoy that moment of losing yourself and finding yourself all at the same time. Losing yourself in the whole scheme of the things, but finding your inner strengths in order to focus on what it is that is most important to you. And that will apply for the rest of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I've talked to several members that are really upset about the season, and I mean, we all kind of saw it coming. Back in March, we all kind of saw the writing on the wall. I'm sure everyone's going to appreciate hearing all of your words of encouragement, because it's definitely something that a lot of people need to hear right now.
Support the Crossmen family. Protect the legacy.
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 Wonderful. Thank you guys so much.
Oh my God, so good to see you guys. Thank you so much. See you all.
So great.
Oh my
Everybody
God.
wash your hands.
Okay.
Stay safe.
Mark, you want to start?
Sure, I'll start. So my name is Mark Chiapetto. I live in Central Illinois. I started marching. I marched the Guardsmen in 80 and 81, and then I went to the Crossmen and marched the Crossmen as a French horn in 82, and then I was drum major in 83. I think that's about it. I'm currently a divisional vice president for a wine and spirits company. There's nothing greater than Drum Corps to teach you how to manage people.
I'm Steve Hartman, and I marched 79 and 80 in the mellophone line. Jill was my drum major.
Yeah. Oh,
And
sorry.
Bret, and then I was the drum major in 81. I'm currently a salesperson for an energy company, but spend a lot of time. I do a lot of judging. I judge drum corps. I judge bands, indoor guard. So activity's still pretty pretty much my life, you know.
Jill Moyer, I marched 79 and 80 with Steve. And Steve, you're lucky enough to stay in 81. I was drum major both years, 79, 80, rook in, rook out, 2 years. It was that group from Westchester. We all just went from college right over to band. And then been a music educator for 33 years and then retired for the last handful of years, which is awesome.
I think the younger people have such a better concept of what drum corps is, because when I went through drum corps, it was, you needed to be in finals. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. If you weren't in finals, you were a failure. The kids don't look at it that way, and they've done a good job of teaching the kids that it's about fun, you know, and about enjoying yourself and performing. Because I know I have friends that have kids in the Colts, and I'm like, your daughter's an awesome rifle. Why wouldn't she go and church? Well, she likes the Colts, you know. And I used to say that to my son all the time. I'd say, why don't you go to Crown, or why don't you go? It's like, I like the people in the Blue Stars. That's my family. That's what, you know. So I respect that. I really do. Because when it was, I don't know if it was just me or what, but it was just all about making finals. Got to make finals. Got to, and if you don't make finals.
But what is one of your best memories with the Crossmen?
Well, that, you know, when I was thinking about that, you know, you're trying, right now there's a big thing on the Facebook. There's the 1980s, you know, and Kelly Fallner is saying, oh my gosh, how should be pictures did that woman take? But
I don't know, but I think I was at rehearsal. I don't remember cameras. I don't remember any of that.
But, you know, there were a lot of things in there. The way I kind of live my life is I kind of like go forward, and it's hard to look back sometimes. But you know, the things I remember the most, some of my fondest memories were just the things that took place and the conversations I had with instructors, not during practices, but getting inside their heads, you know, when we're just all sitting around afterwards, getting to know Vinny Monticelli inside and out, and just talking to these guys and talking about what they really believed in, and Tony Smith and those guys. And so those are a lot of the great memories that I have as far as and the friendships. I came from a kind of an interesting Pennsylvania Dutch background. I was going to be a minister and all that stuff, and it was the first time in my life that I got thrown in with evil people. But anyway, the things those are the things, and philosophically things that I remembered the most was, you know, the attitude I had today is you just don't stop until you're done doing something. You just keep at it. You know, you just keep at it. You don't even think that you're not going to, you know, those are things I learned there. Fun memories that I had. I remember driving the bus back to the school because I got tired of waiting for the Corps to leave the parking lot in Tennessee. And so I hopped in the driver's seat and took the boys' bus back to the school. We all ran in, and fortunately no one narked on me. Robbie never did find out who did that, but you know, crazy stuff like that. The boys' bus catching fire, coming over the Rocky Mountains, you know.
Girls bus catching,
you know, things
fire,
like that, fun stuff like that. But yeah, you know, things like that. Begging food out of the Santa Clara Vanguard in the parking lot at Mile High Stadium because we hadn't eaten in 3 days. Because all the money went to the bus repairs. You know, those are those things, though, that they're just those great stories that you tell over and over again when you get together with your friends, and they really shape who you are. And those are the memories I have the most. Everybody in my wedding party was from the Corps.
You know, so I mean, and I think I teach a lot of seminars, leadership seminars, and I think one of the key things that my seminars are based on is you know, and we do this all the time. We try to pick, just because someone's a great trumpet player, we say, that's the horn sergeant. That's not how it should go. Because just because you're really good at something doesn't mean you can lead. And I think leadership, everyone's a leader in their own way. But you have to have leadership qualities that just because you're great at something. And in sales, I say, just because you're a great salesman doesn't mean you're going to be a great district manager or sales manager. You have to have those qualities, and they're learned qualities. There are no born leaders. It's a learned skill. You learn it from the people around you. You learn it from situations. You learn it from every aspect of your life. That's training to be a leader. And so drum corps was one of the best trainings anyone can get to becoming a leader. It's also a great way to be a good follower, to learn how to be a good follower too, right? Because you have back then it was 128 people. I don't know how many it is now. And everyone's got to listen, and everyone's got to do the right things. And if they're not, then it doesn't look very good. What led me to the Crossmen was the music. The year before and the year before that, the 2 years prior, the music was so cool. The capes, the whole thing, and then my last year when I was the drum major, they changed the whole concept. I'm like, wait, we went from jazz to classical. How does that happen?
I thought it was. I thought everything was fun. I thought everything was fun. Sorry. It just was. Everything was fun. It was so new, and it was band all the time.
Okay, so how can you guys share how the Crossmen experience has changed your life or impacted your life?
This one isn't as hard to, it really defined who I became as a teacher, as an instructor, as a father. The values that I learned there, the ones that were instilled into you were just, the discipline. It was beyond discipline and excellence. It had something to do with just being part of something bigger than yourself. And that became, the guys who are my friends now that that are part of this activity, they're still my best friends deep down, and because we shared something that it's hard to explain to people what it was all about. But when you're working towards something like that, the great times and the laughter, but just even working toward the common goal, that just defined who I became as a person. And like I said, it's cliche to talk about excellence. It's cliche to talk about all these things, but it's really there. It becomes who you are, and that really is the character, and that I think is actually missing in a lot of things that I see today. I hope all the people that are in the Corps now that hear this take a breath and appreciate what you have now, and don't let it just go by so fast, because you're going to miss it. But it will define who you're going to be for the rest of your life, who your friends are going to be, how you're going to raise your kids, how you're going to do your job. All of those things are going to be defined by these 2 to 3, maybe 4 years you have doing what you're doing right now.
Is just the discipline. And, my parents were very disciplined people. And my mom was a music teacher, and she was super disciplined. But it was finite discipline. It was discipline as an individual. But then when you get in front of a Corps or with the Corps, you're disciplined as a group. So your discipline changes. And so it really kind of rounds you out. And then when you have to do things that just seem impossible, you know what? You look at people and say, we got this. We can do this. I have so I manage, I have 127 people that I manage. And we get these goals that they look at the goals and they're like, we can't do that. I'm like, wait a minute. We can do anything we put our mind to. So let's figure it out. Let's lay it all out. Let's plan it out. Let's figure out how we're going to do that and how we're going to get there. And you do the same thing in drum corps, right? How am I going to get from the 50 to the 30 in 3 steps? Well, let's figure it out. We're gonna figure out a new way to march. So that's probably one of the best things. And my assistant gets so mad at me sometimes. She goes, "Why do you use that phrase all the time? Figure it out." Well, because I want you to figure it out. I want you to learn how to do it, because then you're going to be better at doing it. And and then the other thing that really I learned from Doug Stemmett was that the fact that sometimes you got to let people do what they're supposed to do, and don't micromanage them. Just let them go. Because Doug was always good about that. He'd just look at me and kind of give me a smirk and say, "Okay, go ahead and do it." And so you do it. And if you failed, you failed. But you learn from the failure and you moved on. I don't think anyone, I think that's the other thing. And that's really good with the younger with drum corps now is they don't look at failure is not a big, it's not part of the DNA. It's success and how do you improve. And back in our day, it was success or failure. It was like pass or fail. Now it's like, there's success and there's even more success.
You know, you do learn so many life lessons, how to plan your time, how to work your time, that you don't learn. I mean, you do a marching band, but this on the road thing is like your little space.
The way they do stuff now is amazing.
If you watch your
talent level.
rehearsal, do you think you could go through it? I couldn't.
No, probably not.
Oh, no.
I couldn't do it now to save my life.
These are athletes now.
Yeah. They're running, playing a horn, running. It's like, come on. How's that possible?
It's amazing.
I thought high leg lift was tough. Support the Crossmen family, protect the legacy.
Support the Crossmen family and protect the legacy.
The Crossmen have all of our instruments for sale. Brass, percussion, electronics, podiums, props, and much more. We can help you or your school with anything you may need. Reach out to us via email, sales@crossmen.org.
Jerry Mascaro, otherwise known as JT, to folks that know me when I was growing up. I was drum major in '83 and '84, you know, I am out here in central Pennsylvania now, and still somewhat into music, but as a hobby, working with computers.
What years, JT, what years did you march?
83 and 84.
All right, I'm Matt McAllister. I marched 1991 through 95, with the exception of 94, and I was drum major in 1995. I'm a teacher. I teach college down in northern Florida right now. We're outside of Jacksonville, and I'm currently summering in Seattle.
Okay, I'm Jamie Bennett, and I marched the trilogy, 92, 93, and 94. I was a baritone player 92, 93, and then drum majored in 94. I'm currently the business director of a veterinary hospital in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I live in Northwest Georgia with my wife and my newly adopted twin boy and girl of 2 years old, which I hear screaming downstairs, so that's not good.
Oh, some new drum majors, you're saying?
Yes, at least one of them. I got one of them doing a 4 pattern right now.
Oh, good for you.
And what is one of your best memories or one of your favorite memories from your time with the Crossmen?
I'll go. For me, it was leading the "Let Me Try Again" arrangement of Tony Yaklick in '84. It was just an amazing arrangement that Tony wrote for the Corps. And it was just so heartfelt after the difficulties that we had in '83, you know, not making finals. Just that it just every time I hear it, every time I see that performance, I get filled with emotions. It was just a wonderful. It was wonderfully thrilling to be able to lead that on the field.
Start with my '94 memory that. You know, being able to be part of something that was completely different. Not too many corps had the audacity to sit the entire corps on the field and play and let the color guard be the focus. So when we did Children Will Listen for the '94, and then just the entire drum corps just sat there. But it just made for a beautiful ballad. And to be able to be in front of the drum corps while they were playing that, was one of my favorite memories of that entire summer.
You know, I would have to say, this is hard just to pick one or two. Right. But I would have to say, I think my favorite memory would be like Jamie had just said, 1992. Just the last few days, everything had gone so well the last half of the summer, which was rare in the 80s and 90s. The weather in Wisconsin was fall-like,
perfect,
like November. It was beautiful. and you didn't sweat, and there wasn't anything major to fix, and it just felt, all these rehearsals, everything felt good and right, and it was clicking, and it was just a pleasure to rehearse and perform and to just tighten it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. I think that whole last 4 or 5 days of 1992 was just what a wonderful, what a really wonderful sinking and sinking together that was.
What is, if you could think of like your most proud moment with the Corps, not necessarily like a favorite moment, but something that you're really proud of that stuck with you over the years, what would that moment be?
In '94, probably my proudest moment as a drum major was not tripping on AstroTurf, as they called the drum majors to the front. And again, that took me, and literally the drum corps made bets on whether I would trip going to or coming back from calling the drum majors up front. And finally, in Wisconsin, finally I was able to do it right before finals in '94. And I won that night.
Yeah, I think for me it was, and I don't exactly remember when this was, but it was sometime after the '84 season, and I was talking with some folks about drum corps, and they had asked me who I marched with, and I had said the Crossmen, and what they had said to me is that, and I hadn't realized it at the time, that I was part of something that was one of the best in the world, and that someone else telling me that I was part of something where we were the best in the world made me so proud, because when you're in the middle of it, you're always, at least I was always very self-critical. I was always trying to do better. I was always trying to to minimize any mistakes and make sure that everything went smoothly and went well, and to realize that after you step back from being involved and so close to it, that you can stand there and proudly say, yes, we were one of the best of the world.
How has the Crossmen experience impacted your life, either professionally, personally, or how have you become a changed person after your experience at the Crossmen?
It's a great question and an important one. I don't think I can quantify what it has done. I don't think the scope of the experience has yet to reveal itself, if that makes sense. I'm still learning that the skills I learned by being in drum corps, to say nothing of the guts it takes just to show up, are still playing out. A lot of my friends and people I work with find me fearless because we have no trouble talking in front of large groups of people, large groups of peers, which is much harder than just groups of people. Mm-hmm. I think in that way, it's made an important impact upon me. I certainly don't mind moving. I don't keep a lot of stuff. I can still sleep almost anywhere rather easily.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think you just learn to work really hard, and that becomes a part of you. And you can't separate that from who you are, and you can't separate that from how you were formed and who formed you. And the Crossmen was a huge part of that.
One of the things that I could say is perseverance, staying with something through to the end, is something that I learned from being in Crossmen. The tours, the long days, the somewhat sleepless nights, and seeing something through to the end, and doing the best that you can be, or being the best that you can be. The other thing is I've learned to lead selflessly, to put others before yourself. And I think being a drum major, yeah, being a drum major is part of that. It's you know that you're part of something bigger. And I think that I said this before, but being a drum major, you know that you're part of something bigger than yourself, and you rise to the occasion. And it's not about yourself. It's what you can do for the Corps and how you can help the Corps become the best they can be.
Beyond any other entity I have performed with, and I have taught other corps, and I have judged other corps, there is something about the relationship that a Crossman has with its past, with its present, and going into its future that I have not seen anywhere else. And that instilled in me something that expanded into my military career. I actually served in the Marine Drum and Bugle Corps with two other Crossmen that I marched with, Nicole Eddy and Billy Rulepaul. So we all marched 92, 93, and Billy came in 94. And so we all had that same camaraderie that we already were familiar with when we got in the Corps. I see that even when I visit the Corps today. When I was an instructor in 2015, it was the same thing. That does not change, whether it was I-95 or whether it was San Antonio, Texas. That same idea of what Bones is has transcended moves, lack of money, lack of transportation, lack of anything. And I think that survival of the Corps is what made the Crossmen special. And that's what and it instilled in me, and still today, which I tell my students all the time, that it's not about you, it's about those around you. And you are only good if you can make the people around you so much better. Lydia, know that the challenges of the Corps go on for year to year. In 94, we were sat down by the Corps director, Donna and I, and she sat us down on the steps in Tennessee and said, look, there's a real possibility we have to tell the entire Corps to go home tomorrow. The Drum Corps didn't have enough money to continue on the rest of the tour.
Oh my gosh.
So as we're in mid-season at the Tournament of Champions, getting sat down by the Corps director and saying, I don't think we're going to make it, that's tough. Fortunately, other corps stepped up to help us figure out the rest of the year, and then YEA stepped in to save the Corps for a little while until it moved to Texas. But those times, I'm sure, and I'm sure for years even before that, this Corps has seen some challenges, and every single time this Corps has lifted up and has lived on. So I see no difference than what's going to happen going into next year.
Wow. I didn't realize that. I didn't know that about the Corps that year.
Yep.
Who was director that year, Jamie?
That was Esther Masano.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I love learning more and more about Crossmen history. Every year that we have history night, I learn something new, and it's incredible just thinking like that you're part of this amazing legacy. And we couldn't be doing what we're doing now if it weren't for people like you guys paving the path. So we definitely don't go without noticing that. We love hearing about history and all those things that you guys have gone through to get us to where we are now.
So support the Crossmen family and protect the Crossmen legacy. We've all worked very hard to build it, and we trust you to keep it.
So Jill, there was definitely some common themes throughout that.
Right? Their dedication and the tenacity that they showed, and the care for the members that also came out throughout all of the drum majors. And so many of their memories had to do with the dedication and their perseverance through some hardships over time, but how they lasted through them and were there to make the Corps better.
Yep, and definitely looks like there were some great memories too. Tell us a bit more about that Moonlight Classic, Jill.
Wow, there was a point in time when the Corps got split, and I don't mean for a couple of hours. I mean, we got split I'm sure that we lost a vehicle, and half the Corps made it to California, and the other half was traveling possibly with Spirit of Atlanta.
Yeah.
Actually, they got to see the Grand Canyon. We did not. But we did go to the Moonlight Classic in California, and it was a random half of the Corps, and we actually did a show with half the Corps. And as I talk to you now, I can recall standing on the podium. I can't remember before or after, but I can remember looking and just seeing random holes, but we still did the show, which would probably not happen today. But we did it from beginning to end.
That definitely wouldn't happen nowadays, not with all the props and everything and how intricate the drill and everything is now too. So I'm glad that never happened when I marched.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, me too. Now we're going to turn it over to Aaron and Taylor, who had the opportunity to catch up with another longtime Crossmen member, drum major, and admin, Becky Terry.
I marched mellophone from 97 to 2001, then became the assistant drum major in 2002, and was on podium 03 to 05. And after I aged out, I was lucky enough to jump on tour as admin and help be essentially assistant tour director.
What was it like transitioning from a performance position to the drum major position, which comes with a greater leadership role?
Ultimately, my goal was to be drum major of the Crossmen. It was a positive experience because of the staff that had my back and that was supportive. Dean Musson was a big supporter of that, putting me in a assistant position. I realized that a lot more responsibilities came with it, but I also had Joe to look up to. I was very fortunate in having that transitional year into all of the responsibilities of drum major. So I got to see from every angle, from an administrator angle, a performer angle. I got a chance to watch other people take on all the drum major responsibilities, but not have everything on me at the same time. Once I realized how much more I could give to the Corps in a drum major position, I realized that's where I needed to be. And that's something that I took and I use in life, but I also use when I teach. So any organization that I'm a part of, and we're talking about leadership roles, especially the weight of a drum major, because anywhere I've been or I go, the drum major is not just a conductor. They are the pulse. They're the person that gets everything happening. They know what is going on at all times, and they are essentially the ones running the show. I use that now. I make sure that we set people up for success and we don't just throw them into, the fire with no prep. It was a very valuable lesson.
How did you wish to present yourself and thus present the Crossmen to the fans when you were on the podium?
I didn't think much about it, but I did think about it when interviews happened and I talked to people and everybody. I started realizing, okay, people know who you are. You're not just Becky. You're now representing an organization. And you're not just representing the Crossmen, you're representing YEA and everybody else that's affiliated with it. And my approach was to do, I don't want to say do less, but be minimal and professional and think before you speak, because often less is more. That was something that was kind of taught at the Crossmen was your goal is to do your job, lead by example, don't get called out. If you're not called out, you're doing your job.
Were there other drum majors or staff members who influenced your approach to the drum major role?
My first season was Kara. And I remember seeing all the pressure that was put on Kara. It was a lot. And side note, it wasn't just about drum major, it was also about being a female on the podium representing the Corps. And that was kind of rough in the late 90s and early 2000s. And of course, before that as well. But it was something that we didn't often talk about, but I thought about a lot being a female. So I just remember thinking all the pressure that was put on Kara and how she just held her composure. You never saw her crack. It was always business. And if even from behind the scenes, the Corps never knew anything. The Corps never knew if anything was wrong or if she was in a bad place. She was just always on, and you never knew if anything was out of place. You always just felt like, okay, everything must be fine. Go fight, win. And then fast forward to Eric. I remember when he auditioned for drum major, and I kept asking him a million questions, like, what was it like? And, you know, what did you have to do to prep? And can you help me? Because in the next couple of years, I would love to audition. And he helped me through a lot of stuff. He was my seat partner for a season. And I would just bug him constantly about, how did you get through this moment? And what are you thinking now? And again, he wouldn't tell me a lot, because I realized and respected that was his to own. That was not my thing to know or realize, because he was taking care of me as a performer. And then Joe, once I got to be his assistant, we went through a lot of behind the scenes stuff together, a lot of support from the staff, including Aaron and Dean, especially. Those two, I can't tell you how many times Aaron would be on the back sideline with me, just like, okay, this is what you're going to do. It's going to be great. How are you doing? Hey, just fill me in on this. So that extra support was helpful, but also it was helpful in realizing you're going to have a lot to put on your shoulders to take care of your team. And that's okay, because now you have a whole other support system you didn't even know existed. I should add the side note that I've always wanted to be a drum major. I was 3 years old in the stands conducting. My grandmother taught me patterns when I was 3 so that I could stand up and mirror and mimic. And I just knew I wanted to do that. I knew it was part of my path and part of my journey. So because I was aware that it's what I wanted, I started asking questions and I started observing. You know, once you get past the first season of survival, then you realize, whoa, big picture, long term, where are we going with this? It's always about the long game. And observe and ask a lot of questions, and then compile all your own information. That's it.
If you could give a message to future Crossmen drum majors, what would that message be?
Oh, I would say the best advice for a future drum major is, number 1, know who you are, know what you believe in, know where you stand on everything, and then be 100% true to yourself. That's it. You can do all the prep you want to do as far as conducting and musical side of things and understanding the logistics of being a drum major and assigning responsibilities. None of that matters unless you know who you are and that you're competent, so that you're able to convey all the information and build trust with your team.
So that was another one of the many great female drum majors that the Crossmen have had throughout the years. What do you think, Jill?
I think what Becky had to say about knowing yourself and being yourself, that takes you really far. And then to be there for the right reasons and move forward and step ahead in the direction you know to be correct. She is right on point. Exactly.
Okay, now we're going to turn the page to the 2000s and on. Let's take a look.
I'm Eric Posner, and I started marching Crossmen in '99 as a baritone and then switched to euphonium. And in 2000, I became drum major and was drum major in 2000 and 2001. After that, in 2002, I was on staff, on the administrative staff as the assistant tour director. And I currently teach high school at Appleton High School, just outside of Baltimore in Columbia, Maryland.
Evan Woods, I marched in 2004, euphonium, and then 2005 I took off, but I worked a little bit on the food truck that summer, and then came back in 2006, and I was assistant drum major that year. It was my age out year. Wow. And yeah, I remember a month after that summer, Jarrett gave me a call and said, hey, the Corps is moving to Texas. And I was like, all right, so I'll stay involved. And so I worked for the Corps for several years with just tour admin, volunteers, food truck stuff too. So now I live in the Dallas area. I've been here for several years. I've been a part-time band director in the past, but then I still work in drum corps. I started what's called Box 7 Ministries. It's a Christian ministry network for DCI. So that's my full-time work.
Hey, my name is Jarrett Lipman. I was a member of the Crossmen from 2005 to 2007. I was a drum major, and I was with the Corps when they moved from Philadelphia to San Antonio. It was kind of a neat time to be a part of the organization. I stayed on for a year afterwards to help with the transition on the assistant director role, and just worked alongside with Mark and Fred, trying to help them put their roots down here and make sure that everything went smoothly. And then I became a band director at Claudia Taylor Johnson, or Lady Bird Johnson High School. It's here in San Antonio. And I feel like I can see the core office, or used to be able to, from my band tower. So I've never been far from the Crossmen, and it's been pretty cool to be down here and to watch the core, you know, put its roots down and just totally take off. It's like Crossmen is a household name here in Texas.
And what is one of your favorite memories with the Crossmen?
I really loved the 2004 year, so that was before I was a drum major. But it was just a really great year for the drum corps. So finals was in Denver, and I just remember how it took us a few days to adjust to the altitude there, but it was a lot of good work. And just love that Denver stadium. One of my favorite memories and most proud memories was really just the finals performance there in 2004, getting to be part of that. And incredible crowd, stadium, seeing the staff rise up at the end. And I just really felt proud of being a part of the corps and being part of that year.
Thinking back, I mean, there's so many memories with all the people that you meet, you know, within the corps, and then the alumni and even everybody in DCI that you meet. And it's really just the people. But one memory that, you know, just kind of popped in my head was actually after '99. It was actually right after the season. I went back to UMass for school and was showing my roommates, once it came in, the VHS tape of our performance. And I remember sitting there watching the '99 performance and thinking, after watching drum corps for so long before that, like, holy cow, I did that. That's me and my friends, and I know who that is, and I know who that is. And, you know, I can't believe we did that. And, you know, there were challenges that season. I mean, there are challenges every season, but, and that was just a really great feeling that almost solidified me and my love for the corps.
I think, probably one of my favorite memories, it goes back to 2005, and it had been kind of a rough season competitively. The travel and the tour was pretty amazing. We'd gotten down the road. There hadn't been a single bus breakdown. The corps was in real good spirits. We were eating well, sleeping well, and you know, everyone was having a good time. The results were maybe not where we had wanted them to be. It was the first time that it looked like the corps might fall out of finals, and we'd all had been kind of keeping our eye on the rankings. And we got home to the East Coast, to Giant Stadium, and did a performance about a week out from finals. And we had made some big changes to the show. We had ripped out a big section of it. And kind of whenever the Crossmen were in trouble in those days, the solution to everything was scatter drill and then make a big Maltese cross and play loud. And we did that, and it worked really well. And it was in the middle of Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. And I remember watching Becky up on the podium at that point, and we hit the impact, and the crowd went nuts. It was our home crowd. And I think it was the morale boost that gave us the energy that we needed to go into finals week after feeling like we'd maybe been a little bit flat, and it was a long tour. So I'll never forget that night. The staff seemed like they were having a great time, and we had a great time, and the audience had a great time, and it was in Giant Stadium, and we were home. So it was definitely one of the standout memories in the 3 years I was there.
But what is your most proud moment as a drum major or as a marching member with the Crossmen?
I think my most proud moment was standing outside the Rose Bowl in 2007 with the drum corps after we finished the last performance. And the corps was fine. The show was good. It was early in the afternoon because of where we were in placement. And I can remember feeling more a sense of relief and pride that the corps had made it through the transition. It was kind of like the 30 of us that had stayed. You know, we used to ride Southwest down together, and I remember being in the airport and the whole change of having to travel when we used to be able to just drive to camps. And, you know, it was the third new corps director and the third staff change and the third administrative change. And we had all been there together since 2005, some 4 and some sooner. And so when we came off the field in California, we were singing "The Water is Wide" at the end. And I just remember everybody, you know, hanging tight and being so relieved and grateful that we had survived the transition. And Mark and Fred were so excited to be going home after their first drum corps summer, and they were so positive. And it was just one of those days where surviving the summer and making that transition happen. And when YEA finally divested the Corps and we made the break, it was just it was a really special night to be a part of. And I was very, very, very proud of the Corps and the fact that we had hung together and pulled through.
I might add just a little bit, like as a staff member, I was working for the Corps from 08 through 11, and yeah, getting to, I think, really contribute to the grounding of the Corps during those years in Texas. And I think a lot of my role was helping with like fill out the volunteer calendar and get people on tour. And I ran the food truck one summer, and there were just some cool moments of really, you know, seeing the growth of the organization a little bit and the performances, and just thinking, all right, I helped contribute to, you know, the volunteers and the food that made that happen. And just really was proud of the work that the kids and everyone's putting into it, and that their needs were being met. But yeah, it was cool to be a part of those years.
But I remember being in Bridgeport, Connecticut in 2001. And we did a show, the Blue Devils were there. And after, you know, retreat, and the Blue Devils won, but we had won several shows before that, and people could tell that we were really doing something special, and visually we were doing really, really well. And as we left the field after retreat, the Blue Devils turned around and started clapping for us. And I just thought that was really classy of them, and it just, you know, not that we needed that validation. We knew what we were doing, but that's pretty cool when it's recognized. And I remember all of us feeling really good about that when we got back to the buses.
No matter how bad it seems in the moment, it will be your greatest memory when you look back on it. And that has been a big takeaway. And I would say probably most people in drum corps would echo that, because so much of drum corps is miserable. It's hot, it's tiring, it's disgusting. And yet those are the memories that we think are the best. So it's, you know, it's
because that's what, cool. That's what we all, in the current members, that's what we all persevere through.
Yeah.
And we get to the other side of all that stuff, and we made it, and we were successful. And, you know, so I think that's what makes those, you know, bad memories or challenges really stick out as a positive in the end.
What is one of your favorite show memories? Like Jill talked about, like, a crazy show memory. Jill talked about like half the Corps showing up or something. Do you guys have any crazy show memories?
It was 2000, and we did the San Antonio Regional at the Alamo Dome. And I'm a pretty straight-laced guy. I'm not, you know, super charismatic, I guess. And we came off the field, and it was a great show. We all felt just wonderful about it. And, you know, the crowd was super responsive. And one of the contra players came up to me and said, I knew that we were going to do well when you smiled at us. So, and it actually changed the way that I did things in the future. But it was such a good show that it made me realize we weren't working at that point. We were just performing and having fun.
I just thought of something. It wasn't from a performance year for me, but I've got it on photo here, and I thought it might be a cool time to share it. But I think 2009 was the first capes year, right? Of the years that the Corps had capes recently. Yeah. So at San Antonio, there was just this really cool moment where there was a member, I think his name was Kip Chestnut, was in the center of the field opening up a cape, kind of like Bones as a performer though. But then Bones was actually in the background above the DCI sign, opening up at the same time in the stands.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's cool. So Bones timed it like with you know, Kip in the show and opening it up at the regional. And it's just kind of a cool moment that I can't remember. I didn't take this photo. I can't remember where I got it, but it was just, I just keep it here by my desk.
That's rare. I had no idea. I always thought Bones was always pre-show,
yeah.
Right? Not during.
Yeah.
So how has your experience with the Crossmen impacted your life?
if I had not been a member of the Crossmen, I would not have ended up in San Antonio. And life has kind of come full circle. Mark was my core director that year that I moved here, and now all 3 of his children are going to be in my band program next year. And I remember when they were in strollers and Carol and Mark were pushing them around, and when they were riding in the RV. And so, you know, most of our staff, Daryl and I have been together. He's at our color guard director at Johnson and was the Crossmen drill writer, and Chris was the snare tech, and Aaron was a visual tech. And so many of our staff members at Claudia were associated with the Corps when I was there. And I feel like my closest friends and the people that had the greatest impact on my life as a young teacher came from the Crossmen. And I can't say enough that I feel like the organization, just going through the changes with it and the ups and the downs, it made me a stronger person. It made me realize that there's a lot more to life than competition and results. That was probably, that I tell the kids, as competitive as we try to be with my high school band. I never made finals with the Crossmen, and I had 3 years of incredible memories trying to get there, and incredible memories with friends. And so I just think that the perspective that you can have an incredible experience and maybe the results don't matter so much, even though you really maybe want them to. It was just such a great teacher on so many levels. So I feel like I owe everything I've done since I left the Corps to the Corps, and I'm just really grateful for that.
Yeah, for me, I grew up in kind of rural Southeast Ohio. You know, didn't really know what a metronome was until like my senior year of high school. Didn't know what drum corps was till my junior year of high school. Didn't hear the word embouchure till I got to high school. So, but I had some other good music experiences. But getting to march right after my freshman year of college, yeah, it just opened so many doors for me to be a part of, just the broader music education community and learn a lot of new things.
And for me, I mean, the Crossmen completely changed my life when I needed it most. And, you know, things weren't so great in my personal life with family and whatnot. And I had been wanting to do drum corps, and drum corps kind of, I guess it brought some stability to my life. And the people in the Corps helped bring that stability. And every single person that I met in the Corps has changed me in some way for the better. Support the Crossmen family, protect the legacy.
Support the Crossmen family, protect the legacy.
Support the Crossmen family, protect the legacy.
It takes a huge effort and lots of different talents to run Crossmen Productions. We are led by full-time staff members supported by a board of directors with a variety of backgrounds, but we need more. We need help from volunteers with expertise in specific topics to provide us periodic guidance. We are seeking your unique skills. Can you help us lead a specific topic or a particular need?
All right, I'm Allison Zimmerman. I was a drum major for the Crossmen for 2019 and 2020. Right now, I am a music education student at Western Washington University.
Hi, I'm Kristin Hodges. I was a member of Crossmen from 2016 to 2018. In 2016, I marched mellophone, and in 2017 and 2018, I was drum major. I am currently about to begin my position as music specialist at South Euless Elementary in Hurst Euless Bedford ISD.
Hi, my name is Caitlin Wolf, and I used to be Caitlin Hall, and that's kind of weird. I marched from 2013 to 2016 on Team Hands. I now currently serve on the Crossmen Board of Directors, and I'm also a band director at Rouse High School in Leander, Texas, just north of Austin.
I'm Lydia Marshall. I'm one of the current drum majors of the Crossmen. I started in 2018.
Hi, I'm Hunter Bown. I was at Crossmen as a drum major in 2012, and then also on brass staff in 2016, but I was really just there to annoy Caitlin, I'm pretty sure. I'm currently director of bands at Independence High School in Frisco, Texas. It's north of Dallas. Yeah, this is my first year there, and it's been a great time.
Hi, I'm Spencer Holyoak. I marched with the Crossmen from 2014 through 2016 as a drum major. And now, let's see, I just got home from a 2-year church mission in Norway. That was pretty cool. And now I am studying psychology at Brigham Young University.
Hi, I'm Randall Himes. I was a drum major in 2017 and 2018 for the Crossmen, and I am currently a music teacher and band director at an international school in the Dominican Republic.
Can you share with us one of your best memories of your time with the Corps in whatever capacity it could be in?
Mine is absolutely making finals in 2012. We were in 13th that whole season, and number one, that was just an electric drum corps. It was an amazing experience, and a lot of my best friends were made in that year. And I was asked right before we performed if I could do an interview after, and so I did whatever interview. The Blue Stars were coming on the field. I said something about us doing really well. I get a call from one of my best friends from high school, and she's like yelling. I'm like, what? Like, I'm sorry, my season's over. And we were in 12th, and my nose started bleeding. I don't know why. And so I'm there still in my uniform, like cape and all, and trying to like solve this nosebleed while we're like jumping around so excited, because there's really nothing like having your season extended by a day.
There's the guard, you might hear them scream tuba on the field now. And Lydia's laughing and Randall's laughing. So in 2018, I used to dance when I was little. And so choreography has always been something that I enjoy learning. Even when I was on the podium, I liked knowing what the horn line was doing, because inevitably Steve Mason would ask me what the counts were, where it lined up, and I liked knowing. So we were learning choreo in spring training, and my podium already had broken brakes on like the wheels. So you can imagine if you move too much, the podium's gonna roll. And I was not paying attention to where I was on the podium, and I did this lunge into a step-off thing, only my podium went this way, and I went this way, and probably pulled like a muscle in my back trying to recover, but then the staff wanted me to go, so I screamed, being shocked. I was like, I'm gonna kill myself, because like doing choreo on the podium is probably not the best idea. And so I was like, I'm gonna kill myself. But then the staff was like, okay, we need to go. So then I just like stood straight up and I screamed, tuba! And so the guard, now anytime they are having a hard moment in drum corps, they just scream tuba to themselves.
Semifinals, 2015. Think it was semifinals. Okay, yeah, Spencer's remembering too. We had just gotten on the field. This is the Above and Beyond show. So we start with like all this pre-show background, birds chirping, all the things that you can't really do without your sound system working. And so we were about to go and the horn line was set and they did like their whole pose thing. They're ready to go. And I look at Mike Bishop, who was our front ensemble tech at the time, and he was still on the field. And I was like, okay, we can't start because you're still on the field. And he was kind of freaking out. And all the front ensemble techs were freaking out, and Joel Moody was there and he was freaking out. And I was like, okay, cool, let's all freak out. I look over at Spencer and he's like, what is going on? And we were just like waiting for something to happen, but nothing was happening. And then at that moment in time, I almost called it an auditorium. The stadium was so silent and everybody was watching the front ensemble techs and seeing what was going on. And there was actually like someone behind me. I don't know if he was an alumni or not, but he was just like, start the show already. And I'm like, dude, obviously we're waiting. And so we were just like standing there, just waiting. And while like Mike Bishop, it's like slow motion running off the field. Like I turned around, did the salute, and we just like went.
All right, your proudest moment.
My proudest moment is pretty easy. It was the first time we ever did a full run. We put it all together for the first time. Nothing lined up well. Like there were shots at the end and they sounded awful, but just the fact that we made it through and it's like, we're here, we're doing this, we put in all this hard work, and like being my first year, like as a drum major, it was like the ultimate success story right there. Like it started to really feel like real at that point, where before we were just kind of like still chasing the dream, I guess.
My proudest moment would have had to be finals night 2019. That was the first time that, I'll try to be quick with this because I can be very wordy. But I remember at the end of 2018, Randall and I were walking around Trafalgar, and Randall and Kristin both know that I was like an Energizer bunny in 2018, and I just like did not take a break. They even forced me to take a break one day, and I still like reprogrammed Metz, even though I didn't have to. But anyway, we were down at the beach when we were walking around making sure everyone was in bed. And he told me to look up at the sky and said, like, this is what you're gonna remember. Like all these moments where you're just taking a step back and remembering how cool it is, what you get to do. These are the things you're gonna remember, not having a perfect day or anything like that. So that always stuck with me. And whenever I got really stressed in 2019 as my first year head drum major, I always remembered that. And so coming to finals night and finishing that show, I was able to appreciate it a lot more because I found some more time to step back and realize how cool what we get to do is, and how cool that show was and how many people it impacted. And it really didn't matter what place we got because it's honestly one of the most memorable shows of 2019.
But my moment was also not whenever I was a member of Crossmen, but it was in 2016, watching Caitlin finish conducting the show in 2016. I was a complete mess and just so proud because we are really great friends and we're roommates and at UNT together. And I know that I would not be the teacher that I am today without Caitlin in my life. And getting to share that moment with her was really meaningful to me.
How has your drum corps Crossmen experience shaped you, molded you, changed you, or not know what to do? How has it been? How have you benefited from it?
It's crazy, like you watch drum corps and you're a little bando 14, 15-year-old like, this would be so cool. And we're lucky enough to have the opportunity to do it a very unique way. Where we're put in a lot of really stressful situations where we have to make decisions, and it's really just like you take a risk and you make a decision and you go. And I'm finishing my first year teaching, and even though the last few months have been online, like teaching in another country is totally like that, where like band is not the same in this country as it is in this country. Or the music standards don't exist, and so you have to like bring them from the States. It's just all this stuff that you wouldn't expect to be like a challenge or a complication. And that, I feel like that was drum corps as a whole. But from Crossmen, like I had Kristin, I had Lydia, I had Caitlin and Spencer on the phone all the time, and Hunter was there for a while. It's just like you have these people that are there to support you. And so when I've got into some things here, I'm like, I don't know the answer. Like I called Kristin. I was like, I don't know what to do with kindergarten, like help. Or like I'll call friends that I trust for band questions. Or it's just like one of those, take a risk, move to another country and just teach. And I feel like being a part of Crossmen helped me realize you can just take a step and do stuff, because there's tons of people who are willing to help you. You just have to ask. And I don't think if I didn't march Crossmen, I don't think I'd be teaching in this country, which after this first year, it's like a dream job. To have that confidence and that ability to take that risk.
So I'm sure there's like a ton of things, but I know for me personally, I would say that I'm a very type A organized individual. And when things don't go according to plan, I used to freak out. And I still am that type A organized individual, but I don't freak out nearly as much because I feel like even as a band director and all the stress that comes with it, there's like nothing worse than the stress that I felt as a drum major. As proved by my continual stress streams that I have about, the press box being on fire or squishing a cockroach with my head or, the electronics not working. Like, all of those things are way worse than what I experience right now as a band director. So whenever a student comes to me and they're like freaking out about their shoe sole breaking, I'm like, okay, great. let's keep going. Like nothing, I've yet to have something in my band director life phase me as much as drum corps did. So I feel like it got all the shock factor out and everything else is like way easier. And I guess I'm going to add on a second one is the perspective of just being grateful for everything that I have now, because I've had a very blessed lifestyle growing up. And I feel like drum corps strips you away of all of the luxuries of living. So I have definitely appreciated, especially being on staff, like that if we do stop at a gas station, that it is a buy stop and I can buy things because I'm an adult. And I very much appreciate that because I know what it's like for 4 years not being able to buy things at gas stations.
I'll go. So I came in and I was kind of like Caitlin, like I was very type A. I knew what needed to happen, especially as far as changing some things to make the drum corps run better in my first year. But at the same time, I didn't know anything about being a drum major, and I was thrown into the position of being head drum major, and I'd never done it before. So I learned, and I don't think I learned quick enough, but I learned how far compassion can go, and how important it is to approach everything with compassion first.
I think my thought, it goes a lot along with what Kristin was saying about compassion. Because drum corps can be a not very compassionate environment most of the time. And I wasn't always great at this. In fact, there's more times when I wasn't super great than not. But I think the importance of finding the individual that needed help the most and then kind of going to them and helping them in the way they needed it was just so powerful to me.
Support the Crossmen family, protect the legacy.
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 All right. Well, I don't have nightmares of that 2015 electronics scare. Most of us staff who were sitting in the front rows of the stands were still just looking at each other, just as confused and worried. It was definitely an interesting time, that's for sure.
I remember just watching Caitlin's face and just trying to make sure, I'll hold the number and just make sure that stay calm, nothing's going to happen. You're in total control. Just hang in there. But her fear and what's happening and what should I do, but she took over and everything, went well. It really did go well.
Yeah, another one of the many great Crossmen stories from the past.
Another adventure to get over.
So Jill, do you have any last thoughts from talking to the drum majors through the years that you'd like to tell us?
I want to thank each of them. It was an honor to see and talk with them and email with them and stay in touch with the members now and the alumni. But, thank you very much from the bottom of all of our hearts. And for all of you that are just embarking or waiting for your turn, your time will come. Hang in there. Your friendships and all the alumni are out here to support you at all times. Just remember, we're all around. And come to us at any time because we are open arms. I am at any show, happy to talk with any of you at any time. Good luck to you all, and thanks for the support.
Absolutely. Some great advice, great words of wisdom there, some of which those drum majors provided as well, which we'll be taking a look at in just a couple moments here. But before we get to that, what do we have coming up next month, Jack?
Well, Josh, we'll be featuring one of the backbones of any corps, and that's the volunteers. Takes many behind the scenes to keep the corps moving down the road. So we want to recognize those who play a vital role in making that happen. We'll also be having the auction, checking in with the Crossmen Alumni Auction. That's going to be going on that day. And We don't have a whole lot more information about that. So keep an eye on Facebook and on the alumni page for more information about the auction.
We're looking forward to it. Well, Jill, thank you so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure.
Great to be here. It's great to watch all these episodes. Thanks so much, both of you.
Yep, and we will see everyone next month. So until then, let's listen to some words of advice.
Mine is dryer sheets. I think everyone should have a ton of dryer sheets with them in front of the core. I think that you can put them in your hat. You can put them in your backpack. You can be passive aggressive and put them in other people's stuff.
Yes. See, now that's practical. We haven't had anybody practical. That's a great thing.
Don't get stuck in the 80 days, okay? Like, think about what's coming and then think about how this will impact that.
Remember that there's a person inside of that other person you want to yell at. It kind of goes back to the compassion thing, but when it's stressful and you want to be really upset with somebody, remember that they're also a person, and take a step back and clear your head if you need to before engaging in a situation that you might later regret.
Good. All right, Caitlin.
Okay, so I have two, of course, because drum majors always overachieve and do that. One would be, if you're ever faced with the decision to march or not march because of life, always choose to march. And I know that's completely biased, and I know some people choose not to, and it's great for them, but I would recommend marching because you only get one shot. And the second would be to not be the last one at EPL, because drum majors will come get you.
Go to a lot of states you've never been to with a lot of people you barely know. You do a lot of things you've never done before, and you got to soak it all in. Look at the stars, or enjoy the free day, or like commit to improving every day, whatever that looks like to you. Just soak it all in. They're going to love it.
And it's really annoying and inconsiderate.
There we go. Some practical nods. Allison, you want to add anything in here?
Yeah, eat everything on the food truck. I tried so many new things over the summer that I would have never thought that I would have liked, and they were fantastic. So I'm so thankful that I made it a goal that I was going to eat every meal, no matter if it looked good or it didn't, and they were all fantastic. So
I would probably want to share with them that the support that I know that I felt as a member with our alumni, they have that now with another 12 years of people that are out there supporting them. I can go through and think about the love that I felt immediately joining the organization. Rick and Donna Reedy, Ed Carr, Michelle Williams, Gary Kozakria, the list goes on. And then we had Taylor and Allison Jenkins that were around at that point, Aaron Goldberg, all of the names and the superstars that were either around us or supporting us when we were in there. And now it's just really cool to be on that part of it. So whenever they get down or discouraged, or if they're disappointed about the season or worried about something on the road, just know that you have a huge family of alumni that are thinking about you and love you and are lifting you up the way that I know that we were lifted up by those people when I was in the drum corps, because that honestly was my favorite part, being in the Crossmen, were the memories of those people and getting to spend time with those alumni, seeing Jill when we would come, and Scott. It's like everywhere you went, there was a Crossmen alumni, and they were just always there. I mean, Jill always had a smile and a hug, and Scott had an encouraging word. And, you guys have that now, which is pretty cool. We're everywhere. So we love the Corps so much.
So to the members of the Corps, look, it's this crazy time makes us think of crazy things. But one thing we can always focus on, one thing we can always understand, is the foundation of family. And the Crossmen always has been and always will be a family, whether it's the staff, the administration, or the fellow marchers. That family does not go away no matter how many years pass, no matter if you didn't even know her or not. I don't believe Jill and I had ever met, or JT and I have ever met. But guess what? We're still a family, because one thing that puts us together, one thing that bonds us together, is the Crossmen. And you cannot get that anywhere else. You just can't. And no matter what happens with what's going on in the world today, no matter what happens with the uncertainty or the fear or the respect that we have for whatever is happening, look, the one thing that you can count on is the family that the Crossmen is. So I encourage you to be a part of it in any way, shape, or form that you can. Come back, perform as best as you can. Always come back when you're an alumni, and always make sure that you're taking care of your family. So support the Crossmen family, protect that legacy.
You know, live in the moment and relish everything you have, all your friends in the Corps, all the things that you are learning in the Corps, all the training you're getting. But I also would say, to you now, more than ever, have vision. Know where the Corps is going.
The opportunity you have to be part of not just a DCI Corps that's, that strive for excellence and to be part of something special, but to be part of the drum corps activity in the Crossmen tradition. The Corps moved, but it's amazing. I am so happy to see that the alumni are still so strong, and it doesn't matter where in the country this is taking place now, it's still the Crossmen. And remember that you come from a very, very strong tradition. The East Coast Drum Corps, when we were in this, it was passionate. It was people's lives. It was families, and that's still happening today. So take advantage of it. Build friendships. You're going to learn because you have great instructors. You're going to become better players. You're going to become all great teachers if you want to be, because of the things you're going to learn. But the most important thing is you're part of a tradition. And so you are part of what came before you, and you will be part of what will happen next. And remember, the line doesn't stop with you. It didn't start with you. It just continues with you. And so go Bones.
My words to the current Crossmen during this very unusual year would be, you're going through something traumatic, but so is the whole world. And people who've been in the Crossmen have been through their own traumas. And I trust people who've been in the Crossmen to help me get out of traumas because of what they learn and how they learn to serve one another with love.
These are challenging times for everyone in the world in our own space. And, losing the 2020 drum corps season competitively is certainly a struggle for everyone who's involved, but mostly for the marching members or the performing members. And, but I can promise you that this is not what you will take forward. Whether, by default, 2019 ended up to be, for a number of people, their final year because they are not able to come back next year, or whether they're able to come back next year, I promise you that this will not be what you take forward about your drum corps experience. In my final year, 1976, we got disqualified. That was my age out year, and it was extremely painful to us. But it's never what I remember about drum corps. I mean, if it's brought up, then, yeah, we talk about it, but it's not at all what I remember, that my final year, we were disqualified from all of competition. So what you will remember is what we're all talking about here. It's the friendships. It's the lessons you learned. It's the fact that you did get to go back and improve on last night's performance. You'll have a chance to improve on it again tomorrow night. And come together as one team to perfect as a unit your show, your performance, your act. So that's the words of encouragement I would give to you and all members who are not getting to have their season this year.